This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod, the show for the week of April 8th, 2024. And this is episode 201. And I only bring that up because last week was our 200th episode where we kind of reviewed everything that's been going on, because it's also our 4th anniversary show, kind of what Disney has done over the last 4 years and kind of hot topics. And immediately after that episode aired, it's like Disney's like, oh, and then you're going to get this. And then this is happening. And here's a lot of information. And then if you don't follow a lot of the online forums, whether it's like some forum somewhere, WD Magic, where I get a lot of stuff, there's always been like rumors of what's coming percolating underneath, and innuendo and hints. But generally, it's kind of along the lines of the blue sky stuff that we kind of saw. And like running up until last week, the only other rumors other than like Animal Kingdom stuff that we basically know now and the big Beyond Big Thunder Mountain is maybe something big is coming to Hollywood Studios. And but it was all kind of rumor. And then all of a sudden, Disney buys out Hulu. Disney settles their court case, Phil. And then, okay, now we could talk about everything.
Yeah.
So, Phil, how you been this week? I mean, I just preambled here, but I mean, like, have you been able to catch your breath from like all the stuff that's flying all over the place?
Well, it's funny because I was actually away this past week. My wife and I had a belated 20th anniversary no kids trip. So I guess apparently I need to go away more often.
Yes.
Because that's when all the news broke. And I was just like, wait, this and this and this. And I'm like trying to like be into it and excited about it, but also like not focus on it too much because I wanted to spend time with my wife and stuff. So yeah, so I probably haven't even fully digested everything. So I'm kind of looking forward to the show too, that you can kind of let me know what I've missed.
Right. So like, I'm going to try to, I mean, everything that I say is highly rumor and speculation and stuff like that. But it all starts, and Phil, you've made a good list, and you go back into your roots and come up with the news. Like a lot of stuff that's come out that's like, things that, or Disney is putting out that this is what's coming. So why don't you kick us off with the new YouTube show that they put out?
Yeah. So one thing that did get announced, and they announced it and then it came out like the next day, is that they're going to have a new show on YouTube called We Call It Imagineering. And it's probably the closest thing since we've had the Imagineering story of like the stuff that I think all of us want to see on Disney Plus. It was interesting. A lot of us were chatting like, well, why is it on YouTube and not Disney Plus? I think once you saw the first episode, it was very clear that this is going to be like kind of a hype marketing tool they're going to use. And as much, as well as Disney Plus is doing, way more people watch things on YouTube than they do on Disney Plus. So it's pretty clear why it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a marketing strategy, and they want a broader audience. They'll chop it up to YouTube Shorts, I suppose, though I haven't caught them. But it's going to show up in a lot of people's feeds. And it's basically advertising Tiana's Bayou Adventure. That's what the first
that's what the first episode was, at least. It was all about animatronics. And they went and showed you a bunch of the animatronics that will be coming to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. But they had all the different Imagineers from the different elements, and the people who make the costumes, and the people who do the story, and the people who do the motors and stuff like that. And they really showed you like how these things get put together. And then they were flat out just showing off these specific animatronics, like how much motion they have and how amazing they're gonna be. And also just at the same time, some media members, obviously Scott Gustin's one that we follow that's been on our show. Lou Mangello also posted about stuff. He's apparently going to have a ton of stuff on his podcast this week. Got to go behind the scenes at Disney Imagineering. So they were seeing the animatronics up close and getting a lot of other little tidbits. And they basically said, if you think they look good in the video, they look even more amazing in person. So it was very exciting. One thing that I caught in there, because I did see some people like, oh, if you're just seeing these animatronics now, does that mean they're not already in the ride in Walt Disney World? I did notice on a couple of them, they had signs in front of them where it said like Tiana 7 or whatever like that, which I'm assuming means what scene they're in. But they also then had the letters DL maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'm making it think that these are the ones that are actually for Disneyland, and the ones that are at Walt Disney World maybe are already in the attraction.
I think part of some of the rumors that you're saying is like these are from Disneyland because the ones in Disney World are already installed because they're doing that. I'm assuming they're finalizing their testing.
Yeah.
A lot of other people are talking about how Tiana's there's like a media blackout date or a media invite going out for like the third week of June type of thing. So people are now speculating that we're gonna see this ride in what is it 2 months now? Is it 2 months? 2 months?
Less than 2 months.
So we'll see. A lot of cool things. So there's a lot. If you're interested, you can go on Twitter or WD Magic or anybody else, and there's already people pulling like stills out of this image, out of this show, and like showing off the different things. Like there's like a scenery breakdown that might have some spoilers. I didn't look at it, so I don't know. But one of the major things I think we saw at least 3, I believe, Tiana animatronics.
Yeah, different ones with 3 different outfits, not just like
so,
like the same one, but yeah.
She's like these awesome pieces of machinery are showing up like in multiple locations. It's not like Navi River Journey where like you get one at the end and call it a day. It's like they're massive and huge, which goes to show you that they're spending money on this. They're taking this ride serious. If there was any doubt on that originally. Overall, though, I thought that this. If you haven't seen this yet, I mean, stop what you're doing. Like literally stop watching this podcast.
Or pause it. Yeah,
pause it. Yes. And go watch this. It's like, was it like 14 minutes or so?
Yeah, about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you have to spend 30 minutes to an hour watching this. And it reminded me of old takes from, how Walt himself kind of went on the air and did specials or, those type of things, just showing off what Disney Imagineering is up to, especially with Bruce Vaughn. He was in there and he's kind of showcasing, like, people are saying he's really building up WDI. He's got the budget for it. They've been hiring, and there is, I don't know, a chapter of people, if that's a term, a group of people, or a loud minority of people that are like downgrading WDIs, like, oh, they're not as good as the people from before times or whatever, and they're hero worshiping some of the old timers that have the Disney legends that have worked and come through Imagineering. And what I really appreciated, because I still respect quite a bit of what these folks do. I mean, they're amazing artists and engineers and all sorts of different types of Imagineers, but you're putting faces to names, right? You're putting faces and people to projects. Yeah. And there's no way you can get new Disney legends, and you can't get I don't know the personalities behind these things unless you show off who these people are and what they're creating. And I think that's what's been lacking from Disney for quite a bit. And this was kind of like a breath of fresh air. Like, you're seeing their amazing talent come through in this video, and their excitement and their love and their passion. And it makes the curmudgeons online job a little bit harder when they're saying, oh, they're terrible people. They don't know what they're doing. They're destroying Disney or, whatever kind of silliness. You can see that these are real people with amazing talent, building some really fun things. So that's what I really like about the show, and I can't wait to see more of it.
Yep. No, that's a really good point. And sort of along the lines, the other thing I noticed, and I don't know if this is how they've always done it, or for some reason it really jumped out at me, that when everybody introduced themselves, they only used their first name. Like when Josh D'Amaro was at the beginning, he's like, hi, I'm Josh. Yeah. Like, he never said his last name. And Bruce Vaughn was at the end, and he said, yeah, I'm Bruce. He didn't use his last name again. I also did notice he was very adamant. He's like, I lead Imagineering. So it's like very, we talked about it, I forget if it was last week or the week before, but the other person who was leading Imagineering was out, and Bruce was taking over. It's very clear from this that he's the guy in charge. It's his shop, and like you said, they're going to be moving forward. And I did also notice that Josh used the word turbocharged.
Did he? I missed that part.
Yeah, he did use that. So it's like they're going to be riding that, and hopefully that means the proof will be in the pudding that they're actually going to deliver on that, and it's not just going to be a buzzword.
Yeah, let me. We're going to get into turbocharged because in a moment when we go over these rumors. But there's a couple other things to note also before you get to them. Though I want to. One thing I noticed, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe this is very small beans here, but like. There was a difference to Josh between him speaking on the intro to this and then seeing him on stage at D23 or anything else. Like, he always came off as like cardboard or just making a speech. But like in this video, even though it's scripted, he
Mhm.
seemed like genuinely excited and happy to be doing this project. Did you
Yeah.
pick up on that too? Like there's a tonal difference and a
I-
posture difference.
I agree with you from tonal. He did still come off a little like I'm reading a script, like he wasn't supernatural. But I get your point of tonal that he was more excited to do this when, like at the D23 when he was doing the blue sky stuff, you could kind of tell like he did not want to be there. He did not want to be talking about this. This he seemed much more like, all right, I feel more confident about this, even if it came off still a little stiff in his presentation.
I mean, like, yeah, he is, but like to me, like his eyes spoke like
Yeah.
how much he enjoyed doing this rather than being like nervous or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something for the future that we should be looking at.
Yep. Just to move on to like a few other news things first related to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. A lot of the signage is up at the attraction, and they put up the banner for like the celebration that's going to happen. So I guess the main plot line is that they're going to be having the big party at Tiana and Naveen's house, and they're putting just more elements in the queue, like the food garden stuff. So I mean, it feels like they're getting down to kind of the finishing touches type thing. So that's really exciting to see.
Yeah, no, I think if you go on Twitter, God, what is his handle? It's Dan the Disney Man or Drew the Disney Man. He's basically lives outside Tiana. So he has some excellent videos, or pictures, and you can see them slowly start putting all the details. I think it looks pretty good.
Yep.
There's still people harping on the barn and how the murals don't look great and whatever. I mean, there's some just like, drown out that noise. Everything looks to me absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. One other thing that Walt Disney Imagineering, they shared the first look as far as a model, not just concept art, of the Tropical Americas area that'll be where Dino Land USA was and the reimagining for that. So obviously it was still early stages, kind of black and white type thing, but it was pretty neat to see something in 3D, not just the concept art. And this will tie more into, I think, some of the rumors you're going to be talking about in a minute, Jason.
Yeah.
But seems to be the direction they're definitely going in. And it's not going to be at this D23. We're going to get like a third version of what's coming. It's definitely going to be Encanto and Indiana Jones coming to as part of a Tropical Americas area within Animal Kingdom.
I don't know how many of you are listening versus watching, but like we're doing this in the middle of the afternoon and the sun's coming down, and then that was just a vertical light coming through my blinds. I keep moving this way. This is why I'm doing this. And if you're listening, I'm shifting around, so I'm sorry for that if that's making any extra sound.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when we start recording, and what time is it? It's like 5:30.
5 o'clock.
So the sun is setting right now. No, it's always been rumored that it's the Tropical Americas. It was never really like this is what we're doing, but it's basically the last D23. It's going to be an Encanto ride and an Indiana Jones ride, and they gave some details with like some Mayan, Mayan temples that they went to and all this other type of stuff. So there's been a lot of talk around it, and it's basically all but confirmed. Everything that we got. We don't know what the form of everything is, but it's most likely going to be an Encanto Dark ride, Indiana Jones remake, and a carousel of some sort. Most likely Coco.
Yep. And then, so one other thing about more work is that permits are apparently ready to be filed. This is something Scott Gusta mentioned, that they actually saw the permits, but they hadn't been made public yet. But by the time you listen to this, they might have already been made public to actually start work on the Beyond Big Thunder project. So that again is moving beyond. Said beyond like 5 times, but moving beyond just being a blue sky concept art, and I guess that's really going to on track to get started, and we'll see shovels in the ground soon.
Yeah. So about the permits, and this is going to one of the rumors that we're going to it's not on the list that I wrote, but I want to mention this before I forget. There was a guy on WDW Magic. Maybe he's completely lying. He's random person number 5, right? So he's not like a known person, but he says, "Hey, guy," he said to something to the effect where he's like, "Hey guys, I've been spending the last couple months doing like core sampling out in like the swamps behind Big Thunder Mountain, and we've been working a lot. Finally can say that I've been doing this, and boy, you guys are getting a lot." And not that he knows what's going there, but he knows how much space is going to be used. Yeah. And if again, this is another leading example of some of the rumors that we're going to talk about, like how expansive this is. And apparently, the Beyond Big Thunder is going to go in 2 phases. Like it's going to be quite huge. So I'm getting kind of hopefully get more at D23 about this, because even Mike, who runs WDW Magic, has been saying you guys are going to be like super thrilled with D23 because he's hearing some things too.
Cool. Three quick things just for people that maybe have trips coming up. The new scenes at Star Tours have debuted, so anytime there's something new, it's kind of always exciting. I wish they did that for more rides, but it's nice that they keep updating that and kind of making reasons to re-ride that ride that maybe you've done a bunch of times already. They announced the closure date for Test Track, which is going to be June 17th. That's going to be for Test Track version 3.0, which is only happening because the sponsor is paying the money for it. But at least
let's also point out that the sponsor also has a board seat on Disney also, so it's kind of like, hey, can you pay for this one a little bit for us? If you're interested, they posted some concept art for like what the front looks like, and it looks pretty awesome. Yeah,
the one big, I guess we'll see if it happens or not, but one rumor is that the whole thing will be more enclosed, so the ride won't have to go down as much if it rains. But I guess we'll see if that happens. And work is expected to take about a year. And then the last thing is that there's a new free dining program for Disney Chase Visa holders. So if you are a free dining person, the details are out there, but it's for the summer starting, I think, in June. And it's one of those where you have to buy at least a 4-day with hoppers type non-discounted room and stuff like that. But then you can get, either the quick service or the full one, depending on what level you're staying at. But, this seems to be, I guess, a new way they're going to be doing free dining, tying it in with something else. But I know a lot of people love free dining, and we know that with dining back, they're trying to fill some more restaurants and stuff like that. So if this works out for you, and, we've talked about it in the past, I guess, with the dining plan, if you have a couple kids under 10 and you can stay in a value and that sort of thing, it definitely can be a good discount or deal for you. You just always have to price it out versus room only or other discounts. That
you have to game it out. Yep. The more people you have in your room, the better that this deal becomes versus, the rack rate discount.
Yep.
All right. So are we going to get into the rumors galore section?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of stuff percolating, and some person came on. His name is Henry Mystic on WDW Magic, and he kind of summarized a lot of stuff. But typically when some random person comes on and just lists a whole bunch of crazy stuff, people like chastise him or whatever. There was no pushback against this person because either people were afraid to, or like too much of it like matched what they knew. So it's like, oh, you must know something as well.
Or match like the specific things that they know, and then like, oh, well, he knew that. Maybe he does really know this other thing as well. Yeah.
So it's either a clever troll or like there's some truth to it. And there's also a lot of people that are hearing different things at different times, or different things for a similar project where like, oh, it might be here or it might be here. So they might be hearing something different depending on who their inside information is coming from. But this post I only use because I think it's a good summation of a lot of things. So I'm going to start. He went through park by park, and then he did a whole bunch of stuff for like Disney parks around the world. I'm going to ignore that part. I'm basically going to do all the Florida parks. So the Animal Kingdom, it's Indiana Jones Adventure, Encanto Dark Ride, Central American animals throughout the land of tropical Americas, replacing Dinosaur Island. And so we already knew all of that stuff, right? Like, and with animals, which I think is really cool. We haven't even seen like a tie into actual animals. So that might be interesting. But there's another thing that I haven't heard of until this week, and it's a Lion King ride for Africa.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Phil? Were you expecting that at all?
So I've always heard that one like kind of out in the ether, that it's something that's been discussed for a long time.
Sure.
Like not that it was part of the current Blue Sky or anything like that, but there's always been chatter about having a Lion King dark ride. And so again, I don't know if that's just feeding into that this is something else that could happen, or if it's, part of the front burner. I know we've always kind of said, okay, it's great if they redo Dino Land, but there's no real net add to capacity from doing that.
Sure.
Or not substantial depending on the ride vehicles. And we were saying, well, it needs more like additional capacity to really make it, impactful.
Does it count for capacity if Primeval World's been down for like 4 years now?
It counts a little bit. I mean, and I certainly think that whatever they go in there is going to have higher capacity and more people will use it and that sort of thing. But at least just from number of rides versus where we were, 5 years ago or whatever, it wouldn't change. Yep. But I was always thinking they would do an expansion to Pandora, and that would be your new net add. But instead, maybe it's going to be this Lion King ride, which, there isn't really a traditional dark ride at Animal Kingdom, unless you want to count Na'vi. So Encanto might be that. And then if this is kind of that more super traditional, lots of animatronics moving around, I think that would be great. And it's another ride, depending on where the entrance is, that could be open later.
No, absolutely. I was surprised by it. It makes sense, but I was surprised by it because we were expecting something for Pandora, and people are saying that is possible. They're building something for Disneyland, or if they're going to clone it and bring it over here. You never know, because there is an expansion pad for that in Pandora. They also mentioned Zootopia replacing a Tough to Be a Bug. We knew that already. That was actually announced. And then they mentioned a new nighttime show with more fountains and drones at Animal Kingdom, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
We've been championing. Everybody's been asking for this forever at this point. And it gives you a reason to stay at Animal Kingdom, stay there at night, and keep you there longer, which I think is what everybody wants at this point.
Yep. I agree.
Yep. So that's it for Animal Kingdom. And then Magic Kingdom, they're saying this site work to begin shortly for what amounts to a Frontierland expansion and a new Villains Land the size of Galaxy's Edge. So we always knew that this was coming. Like the old Blue Sky from 2 years ago was, kind of like a Coco type of area connected to Beyond Big Thunder, and then Villains in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that hasn't changed, even though that we've heard like they're not going to do Villains, and that was like, oh, we passed on it. It's going to be something else. But it looks like and I think everybody's hyped for Villains Land at Magic Kingdom, except for a couple people on the internet that thinks it's a terrible idea. No one wants to do Villains. Everybody's going to be scared, and kids are not going to want to do it, which I completely disagree with.
Yeah, I know a lot of the I don't know if it's negativity, but just kind of the counterpoint was, well, what usually works is the stories where you're kind of focusing on the hero, but the villain is part of the story too. So how does it work if it's just focusing on the villain? But it'll just be a different take on things, and I certainly think a land that maybe has 2 to 3 rides and some dining and stuff like that works better than like a whole 5th gate based on villains or something. But it'll be just interesting to see what happens. Yeah, I know the original plan, I guess, had Coco and Encanto. So now I think maybe the Encanto part's going to be dropped because that's going to go over to Animal Kingdom. But you could have, I guess Coco kind of coming down from where Big Thunder is. And I forget if it was in here or elsewhere. There was just rumors of a re-theme to Big Thunder. So maybe they kind of changed the setting of that a little bit to be closer to where Coco takes place or something.
Now, and there's also another rumor that's not part of this, and I don't know how true the rumor is or how strong it is, I guess, or how believable. But we just saw a patent filed by Disney for a Soarin' 2, which is basically the ride vehicle, but it tilts rather than going up and down and kind of pitches forward. It kind of tilts like left and right, has like some yaw to it, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like quote unquote like more thrilling than the current Soarin' one.
So the conjecture right now is that's the Coco ride that's going to go in the Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
Kind of tucked away in that corner. So that's what people are thinking. Also in the Magic Kingdom, there's a Moana boat ride originally slated for Animal Kingdom that will go in Adventureland between Pirates and the Jungle Cruise, which is what we talked about 3 weeks ago or so.
Something like that, yeah.
And to me, this is super exciting because they can start building this without shutting anything down. And I mean, the ride looked really cool. Putting a new ride in Adventureland will be absolutely amazing. And I don't know. I'm kind of stoked. I don't know what to think about this, other than like I'm happy Moana is going into Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. I think it is interesting if they do have, they add Moana to Epcot, but clearly that wasn't enough. I mean, we've talked about this before, just how popular Moana still is, and on the download metrics, it's still like one of the top 10 every year. So they definitely want to capitalize on that. So I think Adventureland is a perfect fit for it, and people are like, well, where's it going to go? But we talked about this before, how you can kind of snake your way down there, similar to what you do for Indiana Jones over at Disneyland. So they'll definitely make it work, and I think it could be, and like you said, they could get started on that now. Versus the Beyond Big Thunder, which is going to require a ton of site prep and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So that's one thing to keep an eye out for. And then Tomorrowland Speedway will be different. I know there was a article somewhere about the Autopias turning into electric vehicles out in Disneyland. Yeah. So hopefully we get something like that at Disney World. I am also ready for all the posts of people nostalgic for the smell of gasoline fumes walking through that section of the park. So people are going to be probably complaining about that. Who knows? Big Thunder Mountain is receiving an update. I just don't know what that actually looks like. But I don't know. People are going to start talking about the Dynamite scene, I suppose.
Yeah, that's always a rumor. I think the rumor was Walt Disney World supposed to get that for the 50th when they were talking about like 50 ride upgrades or whatever. They were supposed to get that closing scene or towards the end with the Dynamite that Disneyland has.
Yep, and then Stitch will not be in its current state for much longer, which is absolutely fantastic. Tomorrowland needs some loving over there, and a new night parade, which doesn't surprise me, but kind of surprises me. Where do you think they would put it in relationship to fireworks? A new nighttime parade. How's that going to work?
I don't know. I mean, I hope what I would love is if they do it twice. They do it before and after fireworks. So this way, after fireworks, some people can clear out, and then other people that can stay later for that one. But I guess we'll find out. But I mean, traditionally, it's always been before the fireworks, which I'm assuming they would always do that. But I'd love it if they did it twice.
No, that would be really cool. I just that park is such a mess that I hopefully that does something for the crowds, but I doubt. Yeah. Moving on to Epcot, here's some rumors for Epcot. We know Test Track is being closed, and I think it was a June date, I believe.
June 17th. Yeah.
Yep. They think the rumor is that it's only going to be down for a year, and if I believe I read somewhere that Test Track was down last time for just about a year, so it seems to kind of match what that is. But they haven't said when it was going to come up, but I don't think they're going to miss 2 summers with that.
Exactly.
So 2025. Spaceship Earth update will likely be announced and will start once Test Track comes back online. So I think that sounds absolutely fantastic. These are all plans that they already have that they're finally actually doing some of these things. And then this person says, I expect to hear one more announcement for Epcot. Keep a close eye on the Figment project on Disney Plus. But he's heard that it's Inside Out instead. So we got Inside Out 2 coming out.
Yeah.
But if Figment actually hits big with the public at large, maybe they'll do something over there, which again, the Imagination Pavilion could actually use some stuff over there. That's not a 1980s or 90s mall, which would be nice. Yeah. So here's another thing, like Hollywood Studios, right? New land to replace the launch bay, which is the back end of Animation Courtyard. We've been talking about this forever. It just makes sense to not have a crummy dead end area back there, especially since the main draw was to go see Star Wars characters before Galaxy's Edge opened up. Now it's kind of useless unless you have some 4 or 5-year-olds that love to dance in the Disney Junior Dance Party that's back there. So I think that's really good. We don't know what's going back there. There's no rumors of what it might be. It's all guesswork at this point. Also talking about a Rock and Roller Coaster retheme as well. Again, that's just been rumored as a big duh. Anyway, you didn't need an insider to tell you that there's a retheme to get rid of Aerosmith. Not they have to get rid of Aerosmith, but like Aerosmith has no cultural relevance anymore. I don't think, at least for people like under the age of 40 potentially. Right. And they're going to update the Millennium Falcon mission, which I think would be really good because no one wants to really collect coaxium. I think that's kind of lame. So hopefully,
it's just also one of those things when you have these projection-based rides.
It could be anything, right?
It can be anything. So use that technology to your benefit. And there's no reason it's not. When you get in, you find out you're doing one of 3 or 4 missions or something like that. You know?
Well, even forget about like multiple missions, which would be cool. There's nothing in that queue that makes it you have to do a certain thing.
Yeah.
Other than oh goodness, what's his name is the pirate? The smuggler pirate. Hondo. Yeah. I mean, I never liked using that character because he was an animated character. Not a lot of people know who he is, but it's another poor choice for Star Wars land, I suppose. But those are the 4 lands. So there's a lot of things moving. Like each park is going to get touched over the next 10 years. And I think a lot of this is going to come true in some form, that something's going to happen at Launch Bay. Something is going to happen at Epcot with some of those older rides getting some reimagination. Magic Kingdom is going to go through a major expansion. They've already stated that it's going to be the biggest expansion to Magic Kingdom. It's getting fully funded. Just hopefully that the funding goes through over the course of multiple phases and it stays true to form. It doesn't get cut or anything else like that.
Yeah.
And then the Animal Kingdom stuff. The one true surprise to me, there's 2 big surprises for all these rumors, Phil, and tell me what your big surprises are. It's the Lion King ride at Animal Kingdom, and it's the Moana ride going into Magic Kingdom. That's not even part of the Beyond Big Thunder. Those are my 2 big surprises.
I agree about the Lion King. Didn't see that one coming. And then I guess the fact that they're going to do almost at the same time, potentially, the Beyond Big Thunder and Moana in Magic Kingdom. Not that either's happening, but that both are happening kind of at the same time is a bit of a surprise.
So, we started this podcast, not much was happening at Disney World, right? We were just counting down to the days it was going to reopen. But now, I mean, obviously Phil and I have been on the internet longer than 4 years, and being Disney fans more than 4 years online. It used to be where you tracked all the construction updates, like kind of how we're kind of doing it a little bit with Tiana. But still, the Tiana's is not as fun because you have bitter people coming in and kind of poo-pooing the whole excitement about Tiana's opening. But now we're going to get like a weekly update where we have all these projects going on at the same time and all the different parks and building new hotels and stuff like that, because that's coming. There's Reflections rumors flying around too. If you don't remember, that's the DVC property at Fort Wilderness, or outside of Fort Wilderness on that side of the park or property. But we're going to get like really fun, excited things happening that we just can't wait to see how they unfold. And we're going to be planning like, okay, this is opening up in 2027. We got to plan a trip for 2027.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do. Like, people are going to get stoked for this. And the old Disney vibe, the old happiness is going to come back, right? And I think here's the one thing where I think a lot of this stuff will come true if it's close to being greenlit, if it's not greenlit already, is that this is all stuff that Iger is all of a sudden saying like, okay, we've neglected the parks for too long on capacity. We built too many hotels. We got to start really building up the parks again, all this other stuff. But Iger's not going to be here for 2 years. He's definitely leaving in the next, 2 years as the new CEO comes in. And the new CEO coming in is not going to be like, all right, let's cancel all this fun stuff that people have been getting hyped about, right? Like, they're not going to do that. And I guarantee you, any kind of like, if the new next CEO is like somebody like Dana Walden, who's still head of, she's the head of the studios at this moment. Is that correct? Or no?
Yeah.
She's head of like the streaming efforts, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Entertainment. She's probably being consulted or having a major decision or being part of the discussion. I guess a lot of the internal candidates are. And they're not going to go ahead and immediately like say no to all of this stuff. That would be, you never want to start off your stint as CEO as angering all of your biggest Disney fans out there. So no,
I just looked it up so we could be accurate. She's, I guess, co-chairman of Disney Entertainment, and specifically focused. She oversees the streaming, broadcast, and cable entertainment. So you're pretty good. And I did see, I mean, I don't know if they're just kind of speculating or whatever, but it seems like she is the number one candidate now, I guess, to take over.
I mean, come on, she's an extremely competent person, right? And not to make it go in this direction, but a high caliber woman. Disney has never had a woman CEO, and I think that maybe I think that just adds to the veneer of the idea of promoting her. But I think they're promoting her because of her competence and her ability to do things. But I think Disney also likes the idea of actually having the first female CEO as well. So I think there's also a
and whether it's her or one of the other heads, I think it just makes sense that, like you were saying, they're all going to be somewhat looped in on all these advancements and stuff. So they're going to be kind of, at least on board directionally. And obviously everything could change. Who knows? We never thought there'd be a pandemic and stuff like that. But the idea is whoever replaces is going to be tasked with shepherding this forward, not like, okay, now you're in charge. What do you want to do? The type of.
All right. So, all right, I think what I'm going to do is, as I find more and more rumors, as these things are just popping out left and right, and there's there's insiders having like conversations in threads going, oh, I heard this. Yeah, I heard the same thing too. Were you going to tell us about it? No, we're not going to tell you, but we know what you're talking about, and I know what you're talking about, and it's kind of the back and forth is kind of fun.
There's definitely a lot of I know what you know, what I know, and it's like,
exactly. So it's really cool. So we're gonna keep you guys updated if you're listening to this, and so you don't have to go dredge through 100 threads on the internet. We're gonna put some of the interesting things on here. Okay, for today's game, it's /topic. So we're gonna do. I looked at it. I think this is a really good idea. It's kind of almost a very vague before and after game that you kind of put together, Phil. So why don't you set it up?
Yeah. So with all these, some news and some rumors around everything coming, and kind of just D23 not too far away. And the idea that should be a big one. We're going to get a lot of stuff. And then also I'm just excited about, there should be some shovels in the ground prior to D23 starting, right? So it's definitely not just going to be like, here's some stuff we're thinking of. It's going to be like, oh, that like construction plot over there, this is what it's going to be, and that sort of thing. So I wanted to think about, well, with all this stuff coming and every park getting hit, some projects bigger than others, but all fairly substantial, what could be a realistic timeline for when each element opens, thinking about how long it would take for each element, and also knowing that Disney probably wants 1 or 2 big things per year, right? They don't want to like have everything open up in 2028. It's going to be some stuff before, some then, some after. So just thinking about each of the parks getting hit, what's getting done, and where it could be. This was sort of my initial proposal. And then maybe you can comment, Jason, on it if you agree or disagree. Like you said, almost a little bit of a high level before or after.
Okay.
So obviously, I started with summer 2024 coming up. We know that Tiana's Bayou Adventure is going to open up in the summer. Like you said, I guess the latest rumor is sort of end of June timeframe, but I guess we'll see. We know the new Country Bears is still supposed to open this year. And I think we're going to have, before D23 starts, shovels in the ground for Tropical America. That's going to be more or less announced before D23 starts, and then they'll just give us some more details at D23.
I think the only thing that is iffy on here, or that could be iffy, I guess, is the shovels in the ground, right?
Yeah.
We know Tiana's and Country Bears is opening sometime this summer. That's the easy part. But shovels in the ground, I like how you stuck this in there because it makes it challenging. If D23 is in August, I don't think we'll see shovels in the ground for anything in Tropical America this summer, unless you want to start talking about September. Okay. Unless you want to consider what they already filed permits for of setting up like some of the perimeter stuff. I definitely can see that in the next couple of months. Because if you say shovels to the ground, that means we're closing parts of Dinoland and Dinosaur currently right now. You know what? I'm going to agree. I think we can, because I'm just thinking about it now, how it's set up. I think you can close a good part of that land and still get shovels and ready, but keep everything open, right?
Yeah.
Like, Triceratops Spin and Dinosaur. I think maybe like you start putting shovels in the ground where Primeval Whirl used to be, because it's already blocked off. I think you could probably see a lot of that stuff. So you know what? I think after all of that rambling, I think yes, I think that's a realistic timeline for shovels on the ground.
Okay. Then I have by next summer. We know that Test Track 3.0 should open probably sometime next summer, about a year from now. I think that could be a good opportunity for putting in the new mission for Smuggler's Run. That's something relatively easy to do, and would give something new, kind of almost like some of the new Country Bears or whatever, where it's not like a major thing, but it's something new to have for next summer.
Sure.
And then I think after Test Track opens, we see Spaceship Earth and Figment close, because I think we'll get started on that.
Okay, so Test Track definitely, but next year I don't think it's going to be closed for very long. They need that right to be open because it's a crowd pleaser for rope droppers. I think new missions could happen sooner, honestly, before summer of 2025. I just have zero idea when they've started working on that. Right.
I was just trying to think of something that could be beyond Test Track that could open, that they could have as part of the marketing for next year.
Yeah, I could see that coming sooner. Right, I could see that in the spring of next year. But I think I don't think it's later than the summer of 2025.
Okay. Yeah.
You said Spaceship Earth and Figment close. I think that closes soon after that Test Track opens. So the real question is, what is how much time in between Test Track reopening and Spaceship Earth going down, do you think? Is that like instantaneous? Is it a couple months? What do you think?
Yeah, I would say part of it might depend how much confidence they have in Test Track running well. I don't know if they want to keep it, have it up and running for a couple months just to make sure everything's good, and then they close Spaceship Earth. But I think the intention will be like, and maybe they get through the summer. I don't know, something like that. But I would say, if Test Track 3 opens up by July 1st, Spaceship Earth will close by September.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, let's say Test Track opens up for summer, so like Memorial Day, June timeframe, like similar to like Tiana's is going to open this year. I can see that Spaceship Earth closes end of September, beginning of October type of time frame. Basically, let's have as many things open to entice people to come for that summer, because summer's going to be hit pretty hard with Epic Universe being open next summer. I don't think they want an excuse for people not to go there. So I can see the Spaceship Earth and Figment closing push to the fall of that time frame.
And then I also think, whether it's next summer or sometime, but in 2025 is they'll start the construction. So I put shovels in the ground for all the Magic Kingdom work. So for Moana and Big Thunder Mountain, and maybe Launch Bay as well in Hollywood Studios.
So, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
When you say shovels in the ground, are you going to count prepping the land, like draining it and flattening it? Is that shovel in the ground?
Yeah.
Like,
actual
Like,
like hard, legit construction. Like, but it doesn't have to be like the building yet. But yeah.
Is it basically like when Bio Reconstruct purposely flies over it to take pictures of the
Yeah.
area? Is that considered like the start
Yes.
of like shovels?
Yeah,
I like it. Yes, I think it does start. I think it starts sooner than summer of 2025. Honestly, I think it starts probably by the end of this year. To be honest with you, I think they're gonna. They might not start building things, but I think they're going to want to start like diverting some of the canals and getting the infrastructure in place.
Yeah,
and
if
like
roads need to move or anything like that. Yeah.
and like testing the soil, like they've done core sampling, so maybe they're like, okay, we think it's this deep or whatever. They're going to start moving some, big piles of earth probably to kind of start the process. So I think that happens before the end of the year.
Okay. And do you think they are going to start on Moana at the same time?
Oh, that's a good question. Like we have no idea like what's greenlit or what's not. I know they're itching for a big Moana ride.
Yeah.
I can see them starting that because I don't think they have to do a lot of land prep for that, right? That's it's gonna be. Oh, you know what? That's gonna be really interesting because you're gonna be able to see everything from the train going or the monorail.
The monorail, at least, yeah.
Going around. Yeah, I think that starts before Beyond Big Thunder if it doesn't start at the same time.
Yeah,
or relatively the same time.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It depends on the ride. Like you said, that could be a shorter time frame because it's not quite as much land prep. But it certainly seems like if you're going to be diverting roads or rivers, if there's any impact between, it makes sense to kind of do them at the same time, right?
I mean, this is going to be. I'm thinking, the first major unique ride going into the Magic Kingdom, if it's the patented one that everybody's thinking about, since New Fantasyland. But even then, New Fantasyland didn't really have any unique rides. I mean, like, Mine Train or Seven Dwarfs Mine Train it's a great ride, but it's a coaster, right? There's nothing like fancy or crazy. It's just a fun ride. I guess the only unique thing was the Story Time with Belle, right? Because that had that really cool entrance, and they've never done anything like that before. So I'm trying to think, what was the last unique experience at Magic Kingdom? Like Tron was not unique because it was overseas
That's
first.
obviously a copycat, yeah.
Mine Train, even though that was the first one, but I don't think it was a unique. It wasn't enough to be like, wow, that's amazingly different. It wasn't like Flight of Passage, right? That type of thing. Mine Train was not getting people to come to the park specifically for that type of thing. I don't think. I think it was more like it's all new Fantasyland. So what was the last ride?
So if we're not counting New Fantasyland stuff,
we can. I mean, like,
I don't know if we have to go back to Splash Mountain when that was added in the 80s. I don't know.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And then do you think at the same time, or I guess, what do you think is the timeline for the Launch Bay Hollywood Studios? Like, is that going to start then as well, or are they going to push that off a little bit?
I don't think we see that next year. And I think we might start seeing. I think the minimum time between breaking ground at Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom, because I think those are relatively going to happen fairly quickly in the grand scheme of things. I think Hollywood Studios is like it starts a year after those two start.
Okay. That's
my thinking. And if they happen sooner, oh my goodness, what a time to be an insane Disney fanatic Parks fan on the internet, because that's going to be great. Bio Reconstruct, we're going to have to chip in for his fuel at this point.
So that's kind of, it's a lot to start for summer 2025, but I kind of think that might be their strategy, because obviously we know Epic Universe is opening next summer.
Sure.
So it's like, we have Test Track 3, maybe the new thing for Smuggler's Run, but the big thing you're going to see if you come visit is all the work for the stuff that'll be here for your next visit, right?
I mean, it did take them 500 years to build a Communicore building. Let's hope they can build things faster.
Well, and I will say my thought process going into this was that, to use Josh's word, turbocharged, it's going to be more like the speed we're seeing with Tiana's than the speed we saw with Tron and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, they've shown that they can, in the past, they've shown that they can reimagine rides fairly quickly, whether it's Tower of Terror out west, Splash Now, Test Track, Frozen, they all happened all within no longer than a year and a half. And most of them just a year. But they haven't built something new, like basically new building, new track, that type of thing for quite some time. And I know the new Moana ride is going to take forever to do ride test vehicle, not forever, but like it's going to take longer because it's got a unique ride vehicle and stuff like that.
All right. So then moving on to 2026, because of what you were saying about the rethemings going quicker, I actually think maybe that's when Indiana Jones opens up in Animal Kingdom. That's going to be the new big thing for the summer of 2026.
So we talked about this, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, I guess. I don't know if it was part of our 200 episode. Like, do they close everything down and keep Dinosaur open and then finally close that? And then when they do a reopen, are they going to open the whole area when it's all completely done? Or are they going to be like open up Indy, but the rest of Dinoland's conversion to Tropical Americas is not complete yet?
Yep.
You are insinuating that Indy opens individually versus everything else.
Yeah, my thinking is otherwise I kind of have that and like the new Zootopia show in Animal Kingdom. I don't know what else could be done by 2026. I guess is my concern. You know,
I could see Zootopia being finished.
Yeah.
Right? Like that could be a new thing. I don't think, to me, I find it hard to believe, but what do I know, of like Indy opening, but then the rest of that land not opening. To me, I think they want to open it as like a thing, right? It's an event. It's a whole new land, imagining. Because to me, it'd be like, we're going to open up Rise of the Resistance, but not the rest of Galaxy's Edge.
Well, they did that with Galaxy's Edge, though, right? They opened it before Rise was ready. It opened in phases.
But the whole land was open, right?
Right, the land opened first, yeah, right? Yeah.
So I think they're going to want the whole, like, I could see them saying like, okay, Indy's open, but the Encanto Dark Ride's not open, but the whole area is opened. I can see that, but I don't like. Maybe I'm misreading. I don't see them having like just like a hallway of like walls to Indy where you can get on and go. Like I to me, the whole thing.
Okay, so to me, that's going to take longer than 2 years then to get to that point.
I agree.
So then I guess I'm not sure what would be summer 2026 unless it's something that we don't know. Like you said, there's going to be something in Stitch maybe or something like that. Or because if there's not a ton next year and then there's not a ton in 20, are they going to really go 2 years without a major new addition?
Because I think your next one is 2026.
Okay. You think Spaceship Earth reopens in 2026?
Yes, I think that's a 1 year refurb, unless they're doing track refurbishments on it.
Okay. I guess in my mind, that was going to be more substantial and it's just going to take longer because they can't really get to it, right? They're not going to want to like wall up the whole land again after just opening it, right? That would be my worry. So that's why I had Spaceship Earth and the Figment replacement both in 2027.
So 2026. I mean, yeah, there's really nothing to slot for 2 years from now. If with all this stuff going on, I think they might eat some of the other stuff and have something, like I think they might just give Epic Universe its space, and then just blitz everything for 2026.
I mean, we know more is they've definitely been saying more is going to be towards the end of that 10-year period. So yeah, maybe you're right. It's really just going to be small things. Something goes in Stitch, something, like nothing that's going to probably get most people to plan an extra trip, but just something a little bit new for people that go every year anyway.
Well, let's think about this. The other rumors that we've heard is like entertainment's going to be big next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the nighttime show for Animal Kingdom comes in 2025, 2026. Zootopia is definitely coming sometime in 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
I think there's a new nighttime parade for Magic Kingdom. I think that's going to be coming for 2025. So I think we're going to get all the things that we can layer on top of the parks versus like new physical buildings and assets that you can do. And I think that starts trickling out in 2026 plus.
Yep. And I guess I was pushing it out because my thought was the Hollywood studio stuff would come later. But if they really have nothing else and they want something and they know what it will be in theme, they could always do the refurb or the rethemed Rock and Roller Coaster sometime in there as well, I guess.
I mean, it comes down every year around February. For
anyway, right? Yeah. And then I kind of also thought by summer 2026, maybe that's when they start shovels for the Lion King ride. I'm kind of thinking that's going to be kind of phase 2 for Animal Kingdom.
I don't know where the plot for that expansion is coming from, but I think that might be similar to where Moana is going. I think. Put your mic back on.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yes. All of a sudden, there's
there's some fire alarms going on. I hope everything's okay at your house there, Phil.
Yeah, there's some beeping because of smoke apparently, and why my daughter got me instead of going to get my wife, I don't know. But I'm like, okay.
I think hopefully everything's okay. So I think I'm looking online because I want to see where they could put the Lion King expansion. So it's going in Africa. It's going in where there's Tiffin's and there's Tusker House Festival of Lion King. So if you look on there, if you're kind of walking out of Pandora around the river, like to the left there's like parking, there's cast member areas and some buildings right around where the Festival of the Lion King building is. So if you think between Pandora there and Festival of the Lion King, there's like a space that they could put a pretty substantial ride building in there.
Okay.
I think that's where they could do it. And if they do it there versus like north of Festival of the Lion King, you're getting into the World of Wildlife lives, right? That's where
the safari is.
Safari is and everything else like that. So you can't go there. But that's something that they could start building. To me, it comes down to funding, right? Like what fiscal year are they going to put funding for this in? And if they don't care about that, which I think would be kind of cool, finally, that they're not playing accounting games with this investment, that could start relatively quickly without any interference with the park operations, I think.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Okay. And then I had by end of 2027, that's when I had Spaceship Earth and Figment opening, and also most of the Tropical Americas area. So maybe not everything's done in Animal Kingdom, but I was trying to think how, like, I guess maybe my question back to you is, how long do you think Tropical Americas and Animal Kingdom is going to take? This is like 3.5 years. Yeah. So that's 2027 if they're starting now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, we charted this, and I don't have it in front of me, but we charted, when everybody says like Disney is super slow and all this other stuff, I'm like, well, this, they all took 3 years. And like, Pandora originally took about 3 years to make because that was announced in like 2012, 2013. Shovels in the Ground, I think it was like 2014, 2015, and it was opened in 2017. So I think like Tropical Americas opens in 2027, 2028. And I think fully opens, by the way. And I think by that time, we're now, 5 years into, we're getting close to 5 years of that turbocharged decade. And I think that's when things start ramping up. I think they want to get, Animal Kingdom is going to be the first one. Maybe Lion King lags a year behind on that one. And then then some of the Magic Kingdom stuff's coming on. I know you're about to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I had, was like, you have some of the stuff in Epcot, and then maybe the partial opening for some of the stuff in Animal Kingdom for 20, and then 2028, the Lion King ride is ready. You basically have marketing of Animal Kingdom version 2.0, for lack of a better way. Like, everything's done by then. And then I had by 2029, that's when all the big Thunder Mountain stuff, and I don't know if Moana's the same time, or maybe Moana had already opened by then. And then 2030 is when the new area in Hollywood Studios is opening. So this kind of covers the next, say, 7 to 8 years.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The expansion to Magic Kingdom is going to be a massive event, right? It's the most attended park in the world. Supposedly, like I mentioned earlier, the rumors are it's coming in phases, right? So if you think Encanto is phase 1, and Villains Land is phase 2, and those are coming in parts. I don't think they're going to save a lot of that. I think what you're going to be able to do is probably be able to walk around Rivers of America and kind of come out behind Haunted Mansion, or whatever way they're going to build a park that way. I think that's going to open up with whatever the big Thunder Mountain update, whatever you want to call it, along with whatever is coming in the quote unquote Encanto area. Let's call it the Encanto area. I think those are going to marry together. And I could see that happening in 4 years from now. Yeah. Right. And I think that puts us probably around 2029. 4 years from once it starts, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? So if that starts next year, 2025, so 2029 is a good number for that. The only thing you have here by 2030, the new Hollywood Studios land. God, I don't know. I think Rock and Roller Coaster comes before that. You have that down here for 2028. I think that's like a year and a half refurb on that one. I think they're going to take the extended downtime to do stuff to that track. I think that they're kind of, forced to do quickly at this point. But yeah, I don't want to put something on the Hollywood Studios because we don't know what it is. Yeah. Right.
And maybe that's further out. Maybe like you said, Magic Kingdom's almost like a rolling 2 to 3 year like opening. And that's like a big thing for say 28, 29, 30, even into 31. And then by then they've more fleshed out, and it's more for a 31, 32 for Hollywood studios.
Well, you got to think it's harder to build in Hollywood studios because there's a lot of stuff back there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they
They're
definitely have to move like cast member stuff and all sorts of buildings back there.
There's a lot of buildings that you got to
Yeah.
demo because I don't think they're keeping the launch bay actual building there.
Right.
Right. I think there's going to be a pathway to things back there. So there's a lot of not just buildings, but water infrastructure, IT infrastructure, electrical infrastructure. You have to raise the land. You have to build out new roads and build areas for cast. There's a lot, right? There's a lot of working space back there. That's going to be a little bit different. So I think that's going to take some time. I think the one thing I'm mostly excited for out of all these things, Phil, and I want you to give me an answer for this as well. Even though I am super stoked about Lion King, even though I'm super stoked about Indiana Jones, and I'm super stoked about all of this. But one thing I'm mostly intrigued about is the expansion at Hollywood Studios. I am desperate for that park to have some cohesion because the last time I went, I was kind of sad after the fact that I didn't get to Hollywood Studios, even though I didn't bother me while leading up to it or being there. We skipped it. But thinking back, I'm like, oh man, I missed being there. But it's so aggravating to be there also with the way the park is structured. Yeah. But if you put that piece back there, you can start looping around the park, and it's going to be a much more enjoyable park to navigate and be in, and not having to crisscross or walk back the path that you just walked down, like so no more dead ends. I can't wait for that. And I can't wait. I can't wait because we already know what the vision is for all the parks. Epcot's vision has been set in stone forever, right? It's 2 sections. It's the World Showcase and the different neighborhoods in the front of the park. You've got Animal Kingdom. That's obvious. Magic Kingdom. It's obvious. Hollywood Studios went from like a working studio backlot, park to like an IP land park, like entering the movie universe.
It's kind of like putting you in the movies. Like you're part of Star Wars. You're a toy in Toy Story Land.
But that hasn't been confirmed yet, right? Because there's plenty of elements that still have that kind of like back scene stage show type.
Right. You still have the Indiana Jones show and stuff like that, which doesn't tie into that yet.
So I think whatever we get for this new land in Hollywood Studios is going to cement for us what their long-term 20, 30-year vision is for that park, I think.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really intriguing because that's just kind of like some top-level stuff that we're not going to get a lot of it in the short term, but like I think a confirmation of where they're going to go with that is going to be super fun. And I can't wait because how many times in the last 4 years have we tried to puzzle out the expansion at Hollywood Studios? Like they could this here, they could tie this here, they could build the whole road this way. Like I can't wait to see if any of us were anywhere near close to what the Imagineers are going to do, regardless of the theme, but like how it's structurally built back there. I can't wait to see it.
And I have to say one thing that would be interesting is we kind of been poo-pooing the last D23s by just having that blue sky stuff. But if they're literally building major additions to like the other parks, like they're ongoing, and then they're giving us some blue sky, like here's some ideas like we're thinking of for Hollywood.
Yeah.
That could be kind of cool.
We talked about this 2 weeks ago. It's like when you have nothing but blue sky, it's irritating to fans. Yeah. It's like you're not doing anything and you're shoveling us a bunch of wishes and dreams.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But like we're doing all of this stuff over the course of the next 5. And here's kind of extra stuff that we're kind of thinking about maybe to tease you. You love that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the cherry on top. Like,
exactly.
You can't have a whole dessert of just one cherry.
Right. Can't be a bowl full of
the
cherries.
ice cream. Yeah. You need the ice cream also. So no, I'm excited about that. All right, before we close out, because we're right about at the hour mark, our DBC engagement from 2 weeks ago, we extended it through the 200th episode, is the masterclass. What Disney character would you pick to give yourself a masterclass? And Phil, you picked out one.
Just in the interest of time, one thing that I was trying to think of what my answer was, and then when I saw this one, I think this would be my answer.
That was my answer.
Yeah, Herdomaniac said Tony Stark. Iron Man, that class would be very entertaining, and obviously you get to see a ton of cool technology. And I also feel like he'd probably run it like he was Oprah, and everybody would be getting like cool like things, goodie bags to go home with amazing technology. And like I think, like you said, like you get an Iron Man suit, and you get an Iron Man suit and stuff like that. So I think, obviously we've seen in some of the movies where he's giving speeches and stuff like that. I think that would be really fun and really cool.
Imagine you get your own arc reactor that you can put in your basement and not have to pay your electric bill ever again.
Right.
I'm just like thinking of like practical, like that would be amazing. But I'm like, why? Like my brain first went to the Iron Man suit, but then it was like, practically, I'd just like to power my house forever and not have that one less bill. All right, Phil. Any other rumors or anything else? What was the thing that like when you were either not paying attention to the outside world when you're spending time with your lovely wife that surprised you the most? Because this is the most like impactful week of like news that we didn't have to reach for anything. Like it just all fell in our lap. Which is the biggest hit for you? To summarize everything.
So I think obviously it was really cool seeing the animatronics and getting as much detail and just like hype for that ride for Tiana. So that also was, I wasn't expecting it necessarily that day, but these are things were kind of coming. In some ways, it was seeing that little model for the Tropical Americas area. Like I just didn't think we were going to see anything like that because all we've had is the blue sky. It hadn't even really been confirmed if this is what it's going to be and stuff. So especially just like that coming on the heels of everything else and kind of just being like, oh yeah, oh by the way, this too. Kind of jumped out at me a bit.
The one thing that impacted me because I was traveling a lot for work this week, right? I was in like 4 different states. I think I drove like 2,000 plus miles in my truck all over the place. And it wasn't like I was working in the office and like, oh, let me check the forums for like 5-minute break or whatever. It was like I didn't check the internet for like a day and a half. And all of a sudden it's just like rumors and news and Tiana Adam. I'm like, basically for me, the biggest surprise was just not each individual thing that was fantastic, but it was just the avalanche of like activity around Disney and the excitement beyond it and the community that has been somewhat divided on the broader scale, all coming together and being excited and being true, like kids again with magic in their eyes and being excited. I really like that. So it kind of brought the community together. Not our community on Discord. It's fantastic, but the community at large on the all the people out there. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching and listening. I know I didn't mention our socials at the top of the show, but make sure you follow us at the DBC Pod everywhere on every social media out there. And, of course, the Discord server. We got a new guest, Phil. We forgot to mention their name. Was
Matt F43. Thanks for joining the Discord. I hope you are enjoying your time there so far. And also we had 2 new subscribers to our YouTube account, Octavian Strokos and Randy Youngblood just registered and signed up for our YouTube account. So thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Welcome to the community. Make sure you hop on Discord if you haven't already and join the conversation. Matt is going be there in 2 weeks or a little less than 2 weeks now and running a Spry's 10K, which is you're a better person than I am. Which is
the name of the event, not that it's a surprise for him that he's running it.
Yes. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching and listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Take care, everyone.